I think I'm live. I'm alive. All right. Let's see. Hello, everybody. Hi there. If anyone's watching, my name is Manuel. I'm a guitar player, teacher, and painter. And this is my second live stream. So I'm still learning here how to do it, how to live stream. So um, give me a comment or something if everything looks good, everything's working good. I'm trying to take a look here at my own live stream. Oh, there I am. So I can see myself now. I think it's working. So yeah, if you write anything in the chat, um, I'll be able to see it right here and answer any of your questions or just talk or whatever. So I'll get down to business here. So today is January 20, Martin Luther King Day, Inauguration Day for the President of the US. And I had the pleasure to stay home and have some time off. So I'm going to be painting a little bit, and I'm not going to make these live streams super long, I hope. But yeah, I've been working on this lighthouse. As you can see, this is a lighthouse located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's one of those historic landmarks that everybody recognizes. And I began painting it a while ago, and I just did it real quick. I did like a quick drawing or with paint. And I stopped working on it for a while, and I had it on my wall, and recently I decided to start working on it again. So I just live streamed myself painting a little bit, working on this one recently, and it's at the point where, um, well, it's very slow work because I'm working a lot on defining details. So I'll just get closer here so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is the original picture I took of the lighthouse, and I usually try to take pictures of my work as I progress, but I didn't take many pictures of this one. This is the last one I have, which is not that long ago. As you can see here, there's less definition on the side on this red handrail. And yeah, I just been messing around with it. That was the last time I did it. There's more paintings I've done here if you want to check them out later on my Instagram or check out my videos on YouTube. But yeah, right now I've worked on the definition right here on the front. As you can see, there's still work to do. And I've worked on this handrail, and the foundation of the lighthouse was a little off, and I had to kind of redo some of it, but it's a work in progress. So I'll just get a little closer so you can see. Still a little messy for my taste, but it's quite a challenge for sure, and it's a nice, fun challenge. So I'll be placing my camera right around here. So I don't know if you'll be able to see much of the detail, but I'm just going to talk about what I do and other things, right? So sit back, enjoy, say hi, like and subscribe, and share if you like it. But yeah, I'm just going to begin today by working on this. The paint's still a little wet, so I'm going to have to be careful not to make it run. I already have my color set right here, right? The only thing I'm missing is my linseed oil. So this right here, 50-50, 50% linseed oil, 50% mineral spirits. Um, Very simple. I just put it on this little container here, a little squirt, and that's it. So I've been using very small paint brushes, as you can see, to work on the handrails, because the other ones are a little difficult to, to be precise with. So I've been using this a lot. Um, so my main objective today is to work on the back, on this handrail back here. I'm still not sure if I want to incorporate the people that were sitting there when I took this picture. That's going to be one of the last details that I think about, but for now I'm just going to work on this area right here and maybe around here. So yeah, I'm going to get started. It usually, before I start, I always reflect a little bit and see what I want to work on. And once I know what I want to do, then I start, right? So that's one of the main things that I focus on, that I always have to know what I want to work on before I begin. I have my water here. I plan to be here for a few hours, so uh, I like to keep things handy. And yeah, so to start, I'm going to grab this bit, a bit larger of a paintbrush, and I'll be adding a little bit of oil right in the area where I'm going to be working. So I have to be careful because, like I said, some parts of this painting, I was painting yesterday night, and some parts are wet, and I know what parts are wet, so I'm just being careful not to run my brush above or over those wet parts, right? And the reason why I add oil at the beginning before I start is because it helps um, bring the color forward. I mean, there's not a large or big difference with oil paint. The like acrylic gets darker when it dries, but oil seems to stay the same. But when I add the oil before I start, it brings the saturation back, and it also prepares the surface that I'm going to work on so that it's smooth, and that's uh, technique, you could say, called oiling out. So there we go. I added my oil. I'm going to go right away into these fences. Now, I'm not being extremely particular about making this like hyper realistic. I'm not really interested in making it look exactly the same as the photo. I always like to have my paintings resemble a painting. So I like them to look painterly, right? So I don't really, aside that it's very difficult to be hyper realistic, and it takes a lot of technique and patience and attention to detail. I like the effect of a painting, of the painting look. So I'm not really going for perfection here. I have this stick right here. This is what is called, people will buy something called a maul stick, like M-A-U-L. And you put it like this to lean on the paint, while you paint, right? First, to be steady while you paint. Sometimes I do this too for steady lines. So you'll see me maybe. This is not a real maul stick. This is just a stick I bought at a store. It's called a dowel. I don't know what this is used for, but for me, it's sturdy enough to have some support while I paint. So I'll have this handy. And yeah, I just grabbed some crimson red, and I'll begin by this fence. Uh, it's just an idea. So right off the bat, I feel like I'm ready to paint above the water. So I'm going to start defining the fence a little bit more, and maybe I will begin. Yeah, I'll just begin right here. And you might notice that what I'm doing right now is a very slow process. and it's not for everyone. It does require patience. Um, so yeah, it can be tricky sometimes because the time passes and it might feel like I didn't achieve that much in that time period, but that's why I always take pictures of my work before I start. Well, I try, sometimes I forget, but before I start, so that when I start to question my progress, uh, I just look at my pictures. Oh, I see. I look at my pictures and I see how I improved. So I just noticed that I remember I was seeing something off here, but I just remember that I had erased this fence was too tall in my last video. So I painted with blue on top and made it shorter, but now the proportions of those beams in the center are off. So I think I'm going to have to grab some glue and I'm just gonna have to paint over that. So big decision, you could say, to just sort of erase what I have done, right? Which is no problem. I'll just fix it. So, yep. So that's how I'm starting already. A little bit. I'm already having to remove my paint with this. Okay, so I think the height is right. So now I just have to, I can release this for now. Sometimes I catch myself just holding something for a long time because I'm focused here and I don't notice that I have something in my hand, right? That's kind of funny, but um, yeah, it's been a good day today. Recently I was sick and it was tough, but here I am feeling good, feeling better. Actually feel completely healed and just trying to stay indoors because it's too cold outside. I just came from the outside, so it's like about 2 degrees outside Fahrenheit or like zero, something like that. It just goes up and down, and the wind is pretty strong, so it makes it feel colder. All right. So one major point that I want to make that I've been thinking about is that so yesterday as I was painting, I was fixing the foundation of this lighthouse because it felt like it was just not right, the proportion was not right. So that brings me to what I want to say. When you are starting a painting, to save yourself a headache, and this is something that I know, but sometimes um, still happens to me. Make sure that your proportions are right, right from the beginning when you start. Once you draw, when you draw, make sure that your drawing is as proportional as possible. And before you move on and go into bigger details, do your best to analyze because what happened to me is that sometimes, yesterday and other times it happens that I think the painting looks good, the proportions are good, and then as I'm painting, then I realize that there's something off. And at that point, it's too late. It's never too late to fix it, but it's too late to not struggle. So you will have to maybe paint over something, or um, you know, it might frustrate you a little bit. Yesterday, I was really having a moment when I was having to, when I realized that proportion was wrong, I got a little frustrated, but that's okay, that's part of learning how to paint. But now that, like I said, this one I started it a while ago and I did it kind of fast, so I learned that um, before moving on, try the best to check, try your best to check the proportions of what you're doing. And once you feel like it's ready to go, then start developing the painting, right? And this is this has to do with drawing skills. So if you're not that good at drawing, then you might struggle. And even if you're good at drawing, I guess the more you draw, the less you struggle with these type of things. But even though I keep improving my drawing skills, there's still a lot of times when I realize that I did something wrong, and then I find myself having to fix it. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just kind of before I go and start detailing this red fence, I want to make sure that at least I have the proportions that I'm looking for. So I'm painting above the fence, and I used to um, I used to get very upset when I had to do that, but now it's just part of the process. If I have to paint over something, then so be it, right? I just do it. And I fix it as I go. It's just the only difference is that it consumes more time. So if you have time, that's okay. So if you're watching, say hello, leave a comment, tell me if you watched the presidential inauguration today. And I don't really want to talk about politics, I just want to paint. But I know it's a big deal, right? And a lot of people didn't work due to Martin Luther King, and also used the time to watch the inauguration. So tell me what your plans are for today. Tomorrow, I will not be working either. I teach in a school, and the school got canceled because of the weather. So I'll just be home and I'll be practicing guitar. As some of you know, if you know me, I'm a guitar player, and so when I don't go to work, when I don't have to work in my free time, well, I always make time to practice, but especially when I have a vacation or a day off, I make sure I practice. So tell me what your plans are, what you've been up to, where are you watching from, do you know me, have we met? So, yep. I'm also not very sure about live streaming, if live streaming on YouTube is the best for me to do. I mean, I've been wanting to live stream for a while, and I got enough subscribers so that I could just live stream, and the main reason is because I want to interact with the people who watch. And if you are a painter or an artist, then you can give me live feedback as I work. Um, but the last time I live streamed, the first time, I noticed the internet gave me a little trouble, like the video lagged a little bit, and it affected the quality of my video. So let me know if it's lagging or something, please let me know. And then if that becomes an issue, then I guess I'll just have to stop live streaming, sadly. Here maybe I'll do it here and there, but better if I upload content separate to live streaming. So there I'm just working on this, as you can see. I'm trying to cover up. The red color is something that costs a little bit of effort to cover because it's very saturated, but you just have to grab extra paint to make sure that it doesn't come through. So, so right now, I think it's looking good, the height of this fence. So I'm happy with it, so I'm just going to continue developing this. As you can see, I'm starting to shape the fences, and so recently on Saturday, this past Saturday, um, I had the pleasure to play at a gallery um, in the Third Ward. It's a district in Milwaukee, a historic district, and it's a very artistic and touristic place. And there's a lot of art galleries there. So my wife and I, she's a violinist. We played there, violin and guitar music, and the gallery. Well, it's more like a museum. The owner, his name is Neto Atkinson. If you haven't seen his art, if you don't know him, then check him out. His museum is called the Catacombs of Neto. And there in the lower level of this 6-story building full of galleries, he has his own museum with his artwork, and they have this event called Gallery Night in which artists, they open their galleries and their museums to bring people to enjoy their art or buy art or merchandise. So I was part of this. My wife and I were part of this. We played for an hour. We did classical music and pop and bossa nova and tango. So we did a mixture of things. But as I was talking to him, he has very interesting art, and I saw this painting in particular that, I mean, there's a few paintings that I really like from his museum, and I told him which ones. But there was one in particular with a very nice. His paintings have a lot of straight lines, you could say, or shapes, like circles, triangles. So very well-made figures. And I was asking him how he gets such a nice straight line when he paints, right? And he was telling me that what he does is, okay, I just noticed a little, let's see, 1, 2, I'll have to erase this. So back to what I was saying, what he does is that when he's going to paint a straight line, he first inhales and then exhales as he paints the line. And it doesn't have to be straight, but I'm talking more about a single brushstroke. So let's say he was going to make like a loop or something, or a circle. He told me he inhales, and then when he's ready to do it, he moves his brush as he exhales. And that helps him achieve a very nice, straight, beautiful line. So now that I'm working on lines, and I told him I was going to think about him. So if you're listening, hello, nice to hear you, nice to see you. But this technique he told me about, I went home, well, yesterday I was printing and I was doing lines and I was practicing what he was saying, and it works very nice. It does work very nice. So if you haven't tried doing that when you paint a straight line, then give it a try. maybe it's going to help you improve your lines or your strokes, right? But I thought it was an interesting concept. I never thought about it, and in relation to music, it's similar. When you have to play something difficult sometimes, well, all the time, you have to know where to breathe in and when to breathe out so that the phrase can flow nice and easy. And it's similar. This is a connection I made with music that I found interesting. That if you want it to flow, then you have to be careful when you breathe, when you hold your breath as well, right? So as I'm doing this, if you notice, I just get quiet. Suddenly is because I am maybe painting a straight line. Um, so yeah, it's a nice little thing I learned from just talking to another painter. So there's always things to learn from people, from artists, regardless of the level. Sometimes you learn something from a very advanced painter. Sometimes you learn something from a not so advanced painter. But that's why it's good to always be open to learning from different people. So what I'm doing now, I'm starting to add a little bit of white to the water to resemble waves. There's not really white like that in this picture, and I notice you cannot see my picture here, but I like how it looks, and I just want it to be consistent with the other part of the water, right? So I don't want it to look like it doesn't fit, so I have to recreate the strokes that I use down here, if that makes sense. Um, so if you're watching from Texas, say hello. I originally grew up in El Paso, Texas, and Juarez, Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua. When I was a little kid, I lived in Ciudad Juarez, which is Mexico, in the north part. So yeah, say hi if you're watching from those parts. I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Whitefish Bay. Um, and this is my little studio where I practice, I paint. I used to teach here too. Sometimes I still teach here, some private students, but now my wife and I, her name's Julia, we opened a business in a music studio, a private studio, and now we teach from there, but before that we used to teach here in our, we call this the studio, right? This is our creative space, and also the office. So here I do my work on the computer and my all of that stuff, my ads and whatever. So I always dreamed of having a room just for creating, and I have it now. So I'm very happy. Um, so I hope your year is going good so far. I hope you are having lots of success this year and that your goals are met. If you don't set goals, then I would recommend you try it and stick to them. So, yeah. Now this painting is 18 inches by, wait a minute, yeah, it's 18 inches by, what is this, 24? No, it's bigger. Hmm. I would have to measure it. I'm not sure actually. I think so. 18 by 24 looks like. I'm not sure. But anyway, I've been thinking about painting larger paintings, so I don't know. Maybe the next one I do is gonna be a larger project. But also this year I'm going to have a lot of paintings that I finished a while ago and I never framed. So I just remember this because I was talking about goals, right, for the year, and one of my goals is to frame all my finished artworks. So they're just ready to hang. So I can sell them and just you can hang it on your wall right away. Okay, so I have here my rag that I developed this technique when I'm sitting down. I just keep it on my lap and I have an apron. This is a guitar or this brand that sells strings. They're very well known for their strings, Dario. So this apron is my painting apron. Um, but this here, this little rag, I just keep it on top of my apron. And when I'm ready to switch colors, I just uh, do this, right? Until it comes off. I don't really dip my brush into paint thinner or mineral spirits or something like that. So, huh. I'm looking here on the computer, I can chat, so put hello, hi. Okay, well, um, one of my goals, something I try to do, is to step back from my painting to see how it's looking every now and then, and to get some perspective, right, from far. This is something that sometimes I struggle with because I get very invested and I'll be looking at my painting for an hour sometimes or even more. So I have to force myself to step back and not look at it as I step back, but turn around, stop looking at it, and then look at the painting so I can get the best information, right, on what looks good, what doesn't look good, maybe where I can add something, the proportion, the values, the drawing, anything. So to do this, I try to get up at least every, I'm not going to time myself and force myself to get up, but I definitely will force myself to get up and look at my painting every 30 minutes. So what I have here is this sun clock, and this is a sun clock that I also use. Oh, here you can see it better, I guess. But this is a sun clock that I use also sometimes for practicing when I have a lot of time. So you see there's a spider web on it, so I guess I need to clean it. But uh, this sun clock lasts 30 minutes exactly, and when the sand runs out, I force myself to, if I'm practicing, to stand up and just take a little break to regain focus. And if I'm painting, to stand up, look away from my painting, and see the progress from a far direction. So this is just a little thing that I like to do because I've always liked sand clocks, right? And I got this cool one with a blue sand, and there's some that last 1 hour or but I recommend you do something like this. If you lose track of time, either set up an alarm or like I'm pretty visual, so I look at this and when it runs out and I notice, I stop what I'm doing, I get up, I check how the progress looks, and then I continue. So I'm going to place it here, turn it, and I just keep an eye on it as I paint. So right away from taking a little break, I can see the things that I can add to improve right with my painting, the easy details that I can add here. So maybe a little more white. I don't want to overdo the white. because then it's gonna look too chalky, right? So I need to be careful with that. I also don't like to get sucked into doing one thing as I paint. So right away, as I'm going to switch to working on the fence now. So this is what you would consider the midground or the background of the painting, and I've been working a lot on the foreground, which is the part closer to you, and little by little like that, I will start detailing and improving this painting until I'm happy with how it looks. So I'm going to switch to a smaller paintbrush, and I have a feeling my painting professor would be telling me, why are you using such a small one? I really appreciate him. I still take classes, and his name is Rafat Maximus, and I'm actually going to begin a course in a few weeks on painting techniques that last for the whole spring, or about 4 months. It's from February to May. Yeah, so that's going to be fun. I really enjoy it. It's with UTEP, which is the University of Texas at El Paso. They have a online program called OLI, which is Online Lifelong Learning Institute. That's what it stands for, if I'm not mistaken. And it's for mostly supposed to be for like retired people. And but sorry, I'm painting a line, as I was saying. So but I asked if I could register, and he let me register, and there's not only retired people there, there's people different ages, not a lot. There's a few, there's in the class sometimes, well, who knows how this one will turn out, but there were about maybe, I don't know, about 10 people in this last class, and I used to take classes with him in person. That's what got me back into painting. I started painting when I was doing my undergrad at Texas A&M, and later I just stopped while I was doing my master's degree in music. And during COVID, I was in Texas. I moved back to Texas, and I decided to start painting again, and here we are. I've gotten into painting again. So for a lot of people, it was very surprising when I began painting, because they didn't know I painted. My first painting teacher, her name is Felice House, and she teaches at Texas A&M University. I think she's still there. I don't know, but I know she has exhibits in Austin. She paints really nice, and she does like Western landscapes and like cowgirls. Really interesting and beautiful paintings, large scale, small scale. Not so much small scale. Everything I see from her is usually large, but she's the one that introduced me to painting. I took a painting course when I was studying art, and that was my last course when I was a senior during my undergrad, and my last art course that I took, and it turned out to be my favorite. So I wish I had taken that from the very beginning, so I could have done a few years of that. But I continue painting, and I really enjoy it. And yeah, so I'm going to be taking this course soon, and I'll be documenting my experience, what I learned. So I don't know if you see what I'm doing here, but I just decided to again go back to the water, because the proportions here, or where these bars were, the vertical bars were, they were not quite where I want them to be, so I'm doing it again. And I rather do this now than later and struggle. So I just decided to erase or paint over all of this area. Yeah, so here we go. One more time on the water. Not too much time though, because I need to continue. So yeah, this if you're interested in learning painting, oil painting, he also teaches acrylic, but I think his courses usually focus on oil painting. I recently took a portrait painting class during the fall, which was quite intense because the most intense part is to commit, right? To make sure you show up every single time. And there were moments when I had I had commitments. I had to play somewhere. Usually that was what didn't let me do it, when I had to play somewhere on a Friday. These classes happen on Fridays. So I had to just record the session and then review it later. And sometimes if you miss 2 or 3, then you're really screwed because you have to catch up. And each class lasts it's 2 hours, right? And then on top of that, you should work on what you covered during the class. So in other words, there's homework during the week. So if you miss the classes, it can get overwhelming. But overall, it's a great opportunity. It's not expensive. It's like the first time I paid like $200, I think, including the registration to the Ollie. This time I'm already a member of Ollie, so I just paid for the course and the registration fee. So I paid like $150 or something like that. So it's very affordable if you are interested in learning how to paint. He's a great, great painter. This class is called oil painting techniques and something else. Yeah, it's just, I'm guessing it's more like general technique and tips maybe, I don't know, but he is very knowledgeable and I look up to him a lot, so any course he offers, I would do it. So I'm very excited about that. I'll be posting videos about what we talk about or what he talks about, right? And what I learned from him. There's always something to learn from him. He's already in his 70s, so he has a lot of life experience and he's worked in art for many years. So he has answers to a lot of questions. Okay, so also in the spring, I'm going to try something new called plein air painting, which is painting outdoors with pretty much it's like a portable easel, and I've never done that. So I'm excited to try it, a little nervous because I don't know, I mean, I've never dealt with painting with wind or like a lot of sun or I don't know, people maybe walking by and talking to you, asking you about painting and watching you paint, like kind of like what I'm doing now. It's live. There's no editing, nothing, it's just raw. So if you make a mistake, if it's not looking good, whatever, it's all captured. But I don't mind that. Okay, so I feel like I'm overdoing these backgrounds, so I'm just gonna stop. And I'm going to proceed to what I said I was going to do. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to grab a little bit of oil. to make the paint flow. I switch paintbrush, and now I'm going to define the vertical part of the beams of the handrails. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, uh, painting a straight line is not easy. It's definitely a skill. So it doesn't matter because I will fix it as I go. Yeah, looks like a little kid. Made it, but that's fine. It's just an idea of where it goes. I'll fix it in a little bit. So in these moments is when I notice my proportion issues. Okay, that line was better. I would not call them issues, um, but because they're not really, proportions are not issues, but it also doesn't look bad. So, okay, somewhere there, looks good. Okay, it's all right. So my main goal is to be able to portray an idea, a good idea. It's not like impressionism really, because I'm not being too loose about how I paint, but I just want to have an appealing painting, right? That when you look at it, you say, wow, that's nice. And you see what you see. There's a lighthouse, there's water, it's understandable, you know what you're looking at, uh, and it's nice, it looks nice, and it has to look nice to me as well, right? And I will not stop working on a painting until I'm satisfied with how it looks. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfect, just I have to be satisfied with how it looks. So sometimes I've painted something where I left a dot of black paint where it shouldn't go, but it looked nice, so I just left it there and I called it fine, done. So, okay, there we go. Right now I'm using crimson, alizarin crimson, or crimson red, right? Which is like a more purplish red, kind of like wine. It always reminds me of wine, like the color of wine. Uh, just to figure out where these handrails go. Hmm. Okay, something like that. Okay, so in this moment, I would take a break, turn around, walk away, don't look at it. Maybe count to 5 before looking back so that the eye forgets, and then look and think, how straight does it look? How is the perspective? Um, it looks good. It's like a 1 point perspective. So meaning everything is going this way, like that. everything is going in this direction, so I'm checking to see if the perspective looks good. The spacing and the size of the handrails individually. And to me, looks fine. So I'm just going to continue and go now into a little more detail, which is now the lower beam of the handrail. So here, first I think I have to do one. When I paint and I record myself, my light source or my light is over here, so it creates a little glare. And the reason I put it there is so that the painting can stand out more and look clear. But if you see me doing this, it's because I see the glare and I'm trying to make sure I'm doing what I'm doing right. So um, I noticed this beam down here is thicker than the others. And the other two beams, there's three beams total in between. The other two are thin. So I have to be here thinking about that, something like this. Do they have to be perfectly thin? No. But just an idea of thinner. So if I make it too thick, then I just grab blue paint and sculpt. You could say it's like sculpting. Sculpt the shape of the beam until, or the straightness of the beam until I'm happy. So like these ones in the front, to me they still need work. Some of them are not very straight, some of them have residues around the area that I worked. So those are the little details that I'll just work on at the very end. So I would call that cleaning up my mess. I'm gonna clean my mess later. For now, I'll just leave it messy. And this is where the patience is required. Because if you lose your patience and you just want to paint all of the lines quickly, then that's how it's going to look. To go one at a time. Like that. After I do my line also, I clean my brush a little bit. Actually, I wipe it pretty well, not a little bit, I wipe it. I don't know if you notice, I have this here and I just go like this. And that is to remove the dirty paint from it. So like when I'm doing the line here, for example, I am also painting over the blue. And the blue is wet paint. And as I do the line, the paintbrush picks up some of that blue. So when I move on to the next line, if I don't clean my brush, then I'm gonna have a dirty color. I'm going to have a line that might look blue, more blue than red. So after I do a swipe, I clean the brush, grab more paint, repeat. So if you notice, I'm not using the stick, this one. I'm not super used to using something like this. I'll do it sometimes like here, right? Where it's higher up on the painting. But if it's low enough for me to just put my hand like this, right? I'll lean on my hand. So this is just an extra tool, it's not necessary. But I have it just in case I need it, right? So make sure that if you buy one, this cost me like $2, I think. Make sure it's sturdy enough so you can lean on it because if it bends, I have a meter stick over here, but obviously that is too wonky, so it moves and it's not good. Some malt sticks will have like a little rag on top, so you can lean it on the dry paint and do it, right? So like on the tip, I'll have like a little ball here. Like, I don't know if it's filled with cotton or something, I've never used one of those. But I'm not that fancy. I just paint raw like this. There we go. These bars, these red bars remind me of like those ones where people keep horses. And you can tell I grew up in Texas. So after I'm done doing these horizontal lines, I'm going to move on to doing the vertical lines in between. Uh-huh. And once the proportions look good, I'll start to add more paint on top and fix them and add shadow and light and make it more detailed. But for now, I'm just getting a general idea of each one of these. That one didn't come out very straight, but that's fine. There we go. Yeah, I can always grab this blue. I have this brush with blue, and just if I want to fix it, I go underneath or on top and add a little touch of that blue to cover the red and straighten the line. So I'm playing with positive and negative space. Um, okay. So I kind of look back and forth. I look at my reference. I used to try to copy my reference. Now I do that less. I think, well, depends what I'm doing, but I find that I just look at the reference to gather information. For example, oh, there's 3 lines, or the bottom bar is thicker than the 2 bars, or there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half sets of bars. I look at stuff like that, and then I don't necessarily copy everything I see. I just have it in my head. I know that there's supposed to be 3 lines here, so I paint them. I don't necessarily have to look back and forth all the time. But yeah, I used to, and haven't been painting for 30 years, I don't know how it's gonna be later, but I can see the difference from when I started to now. uh, how I rely a little less on my reference. And there's people that automatically like to paint from imagination, right? They just have already visuals in their head and they, like Salvador Dali, for example, from his dreams. And I bet I could do that. I've done it a few times. But I used to think that was super difficult, and the more I paint, the more possible I see it. So, yeah, I might later start painting some weird stuff. We'll see. For now, I like doing things like this. Why did I choose to paint this? So here we go, I'm gonna make a line. Boom. I chose to paint this because um, I previously had painted a lighthouse. I don't know if some of you saw it. It's the lighthouse in Chicago, and it's I took a picture of it when I was on a boat tour. I liked it, and I decided to paint it red, and I had a really good experience painting it. I enjoyed it. It was challenging to paint buildings, to paint anything symmetric, I think, in my opinion, is not easy. It's easier to recreate something organic that is messy and wild. You can be more loose. Like there's paintings I do, like this one, maybe like this Gene Wilder, that are more loose. I just it's a little bit between impressionistic and realistic, and or trees, for example, right? They're easier. Here you can see up close a little better um, the loose brushwork. But when it comes to painting buildings or straight lines and handrails and stuff, it can be tricky, right? Because things have to look symmetrical, they have to look straight or round if they're round. So there, painting lighthouses has not been easy, but I enjoy the challenge of doing it. And I decided one day I was walking with my wife and my mother-in-law, and we took a picture of this, and I liked it, so I decided to paint it. What made me want to paint it was the water right here, this part right here. I just saw how it looks, all these different white and red and green, these different colors. And I thought, man, that looks nice, right? You could see the red of the right lighthouse there. So I decided to paint this, and um, this is the second lighthouse I do. And there's another lighthouse that once I'm done with this, or maybe not 100% done, but if I need a break from this, if I get tired of working on one thing, that happens to me sometimes, I will start this other lighthouse so I can have a series of lighthouses. And this other one is also in Milwaukee in a park. It's called the Lake Park. I don't know the name of the lighthouse, I forget, but it's a white lighthouse in the park. So if you know what I'm talking about, put a thumbs up or say hi or something. But yeah, it's a really beautiful lighthouse, and I took a picture that I really like. So after this one, I'm gonna do that one, and then I'm going to move on to painting other things that I have. So this is going to be my lighthouse series. Um, as you can see, my clock is running out. You see, so I see the sand. In fact, like in 30 seconds, going to run out. So at this point, I would take a break, step back. I'll just get my camera a little closer here so you see my progress. And that's what I've done. It's not a lot, right? But it's definitely a foundation to what I'm going to do next, which are details, right? So from far, it looks to me, it looks good. It looks nice. It looks straight. So it's in harmony with the painting. So once I feel this looks nice, I had to redo it as I was saying once I feel like it's ready, then the foundation. I think the takeaway of today is to, like I said before you continue on a painting on details, make sure that your foundation, like anything, is strong, because if not, then you will have trouble and you will have to fix it and spend extra time. And I think that's one of the main reasons that separate an experienced, a highly experienced painter to a beginner or a not so experienced painter, is that they know how to avoid problems from the very beginning, and they are more efficient at painting. Just like with playing music, right? The more music and the more you practice, the more you play, the better and more efficient you become at solving problems from the very beginning, or to avoid problems overall. So that's something that I've been keeping in mind while I work on this, and that I will definitely apply to my next painting and to the rest of the paintings I do. To always remember, make sure your foundation and your drawing, your proportions look as good as you think they look, as good as possible. And once you're satisfied and you think you're ready to move on, then start adding additional layers of detail. And I think that would make a very smooth painting experience. So, yeah, that's the takeaway for today. I'm going to stop live streaming now. So I hope you enjoyed, and if you like it, then subscribe and share, like this video, and I would like to know your thoughts, what you think. Write in the comments, and I'll be continuing to upload my my experience and my progress, right? My opinions, my point of view about painting and other things, right? So I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.